Hello and welcome to Polk Pioneer's History Program, a collaboration between the Polk County Historical Association and the Polk County History Center. I'm Murtis Young, Historic Preservation Manager for the Polk County History Center. Thank you for joining us today as I have the pleasure of interviewing Mrs. Ora H. Greene, a longtime resident of Winter Haven, who will be sharing personal memories about her life. Mrs. Greene, thank you for joining me today. Let's begin your story with your childhood memories. So tell us, where were you born?
Before answering your question, let me say I certainly appreciate the society for taking on this effort. It's very thoughtful of you all to remember us seniors. It's very nice. And I also want to thank Miss Patricia for thinking about my family in submitting our names for this. Thanks, Patricia. I grew up in Gainesville, Florida, which is Ora H County, a very industrious area, because as you're aware, the University of Florida is there, which means the whole environment is affected one way or another by the university there. At our school, we had a K through 12. It was Lincoln Elementary, Junior High, Senior High School. So once you enrolled at the elementary level, you were there. I can't help but to think about the gracious teachers we had during that time. They were really caring, very caring. And you were almost like you were away from home when you were with them. You felt that. Your teachers knew you, you saw your teachers. They were in your churches, in your community, in your stores. So they were in constant contact with your parents. So that was a very good plus. The comfortableness there, the closeness in securing an education, the coordination between the parents and the school. Very early, my mother was always interested in us being in some form of music. And in fact, she was very insistent. We were going to take some form, piano or instrumental. Well, my younger brother and I enrolled in piano. She had us enrolled in piano first. So we were there for about a month, and it's just like we weren't catching on. Well, the band seemed, well, you all probably can make it in that area. So we enrolled in the band. The band director started training his students. He was a graduate of A&M, and you know A&M is known for its band. So we were very proud to have him as a band director in Gainesville. So we enrolled in band in 6th grade. I played the trumpet. I always wanted to play the saxophone. But because of the formation of my teeth, the director said I could not play effectively a wind instrument, which was a saxophone, but I would do better with the brass. So I played the trumpet, and my brother, my youngest brother, played the clarinet, the wind instrument. So I remained in the band from 6th grade through high school. And during my 7th grade year at the school, junior high, they always had queens, kings and queens. You had a Little Miss Lincoln High School and a senior high school. So when I was in 7th grade, I was most elated. I was selected their Little Miss Lincoln High School.
Congratulations.
And ran. And so that was just wonderful. I'd always been, because we had no other choice but to get your work. We were always honor students. Like I said, the school and the parents coordinated quite a bit, so there's no sense in saying you're gonna get behind or you're not gonna do this, because your parents saw your teachers. You didn't have to wait for a report card. I remained in the band through high school. At this particular high school, you could decide at that time what your career path would be. And we were set up during that time. I was in a business track. So I had typewriting or shorthand in these subjects starting in 10th grade. 10th, 11th, and 12th. They put you in this track to see before going to college whether this is the career path for you. And upon graduation, you would know. So before graduation, when you had college day, career day, visit the campus, you knew exactly what career track you wanted. So I was enrolled in business education at Bethune-Cookman College. That was the school I selected to attend. Very rich heritage school, Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. Beautiful story, and I tell that often. 5 little girls, and I love to tell it. $1.50 and great faith in God. That's how we get Bethune-Cookman, and now it's grown to what? A university, of which we are real proud.
Yeah.
So I had a very fruitful childhood, very enjoyable. Your parents always made sure you were active. We weren't on the inside. In the afternoons, we always looked forward to doing our homework, doing our house chores, because we would be on the outside. A group of us could skate when the businesses closed in the afternoons. We skated a lot. We did your little hot dogs and things on the outside. So most of our games were outside games when we grew up. And this was quite a chore.
And great memories of being outside.
Always active. I know we talked about Paradise Park growing up. Every Wednesday at our church in Gainesville, they would take us to Paradise Park, because Paradise Park was in just Ocala, 36 miles. So if you were enrolled in the summer program at church, you always got your lunch, pack your lunch, and you were going to Paradise Park to spend the afternoon. So we look forward to that.
Tell us about your parents, their names, and a little bit about them and what they did, and some memories that you have of your parents.
Okay. My parents were Annie Mae Butler, my mother, and my father's name was Obie Hill. They were both from Carolina, Greenwood, South Carolina. Now, out of their family, they were the only ones to come to Florida. So this accounts for my not growing up with aunts, uncles, grandparents. I only grew up with my brothers and sisters. So that made us extremely close because we were kids. My father passed at a very early age. He had a stroke at the brains. My mother had not worked. She had 6 children. So it was very difficult for her to adjust leaving the home because she had been there with her children after he died. It became a new world to her that she had to learn to function in. So she was in almost a year after he died before she could, come to grips with, this is life, real world. We've got to get out here. So she worked at the university in the cafeteria. She was a salad girl, and I guess that's why all of us know how to make beautiful salads. That was her specialty. I had 3 brothers, and there were 3 girls. There were 3 girls and 3 boys. We were almost paired off. The older 2, middle 2, the younger 2. I was the knee baby. The one before the brother I speak of was the youngest. He was the boy baby. We had many members. We grew up. The next oldest brother always assumed the role as father, since we lost our father at an early age. He enlisted in the United States Navy to help my mother with the younger children who were at home. And believe it or not, he played that role with us until his death. And hopefully I'll remember to share another part about him and the role he played. Thinking back with college, he's the one I never rode the bus to Daytona. He would always come and pick me up for all of the holidays, or whenever I came home, he would come and pick me up. Now my youngest brother, instead of going, he went to Bethune a short time, and he said, I just don't like the culture here. I think I'm more fit for A&M. So he left Cookman and went to A&M in Tallahassee, where he became a member of the marching band there.
Nice.
And he marched with the Marching 100. I marched in the band at Cookman also until I became a sophomore. Once I finished my sophomore year, I became attracted to the sororities. And so I pledged Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. And at that point, once I made the sorority, I spent my time in college in extra time with the sorority. My oldest sister And her family, well, the 3 oldest siblings remained in Gainesville. They lived, the 4 of them remained in Gainesville. I was in Gainesville until I had my first teaching assignment. And my youngest brother was there. And we were so close. He always wanted to do whatever I did. So he was in teaching also. And he came to Sebring, where I had my first teaching position. But as I said, we grew up only with brothers and sisters. I was around a grandfather maybe 2 weeks, because my mother would go back to South Carolina every year. At their church, the people who had left would come back, and members of this particular church, for their family reunion. But it was a church reunion that they would have annually, and all of them would have come back. Well, that's when I was around my grandfather,
Nice.
one grandfather, for 2 weeks. I had aunts and uncles there that we would visit every summer, because she would take us there. But that was the extent of my relationship with aunts, uncles, cousins, and this kind of thing. Later, we had a beautiful relationship with cousins. They became really close, and we would visit back and forth.
Nice. You know, I want to go backwards just a little bit to your college days. We've certainly celebrated Mary Bethune-Cookman a lot this year. This is the 2020. So we've been very involved in commemorating the 100th anniversary of the passage of the suffrage movement, the passage of the 19th Amendment. And she was very involved in the suffrage movement. I wonder if you have any memories of her involvement or discussing her.
I remember when I first went to Bethune-Cookman. She was alive, I think, first 2 years. Very gracious woman, stately. Her home was on the other end of the campus. We would see her. She was just a precious person. We had the Bethune-Cookman Gospel Choir to our church this year. And they asked me to give the welcome. And I told them the story. They were overwhelmed. They said, we've never heard a welcome like that, where you included some of the history of Bethune-Cookman. I said, well, it was always there. And that's the way she was. We had Vesper every Sunday. We marched to Vesper. Wednesday nights, you had prayer meeting right on the campus, because, you know, Bethune was a private school. And we had to have, freshmen had to take a navy blue tailored suit and 2 white blouses. And believe me, you needed a new one at the end of that year, because every time you left campus, freshmen must wear that uniform. When you went to those 2 services on Sunday, you had that uniform on, so you needed a new uniform by the time you got back. But it was a wonderful experience.
Well, thank you. I know we have just so much admiration for her and the work she did, and she's had such a great influence on the lives of women.
She has.
And it's just amazing to me. It's awesome to me to meet somebody who had an opportunity to be around her and to meet her. Thank you for sharing that with us.
More than welcome. My pleasure.
So you've graduated from college and you're teaching. Somewhere along the way, you have met Mr. Anthony Greene. Tell us about that. How did that come about?
Well, we knew Anthony at a distance from the school in Sebring, because that was my first teaching assignment, was in Highlands County. And I was living at the time with my brother. My brother and I had really started buying this home, because, as I said, he always wanted to be where I was. So when he finished A&M, he was blessed to get a job in Highlands County in Sebring. And believe it or not, he wanted to live in the same house, and the people accommodated him. So they started building homes in a community there, and the 2 of us decided we'll buy this home. So that's where, and later on, even after he married, and we had my mother there, I lived there. I still continued to live there. So his wife, his name was Gracie at the time, she was going to summer school at A&M. Well, I never cared that much for A&M. I love Cookman. But I said, she asked me, she said, why won't you go with me this year? I said, well, you know how I feel about A&M. She said, but yeah, just come on and go with me, Ora. And so I did. We had a home there. There were 3 bedrooms at this particular house. There was 2 women to a room. Well, all of them were married except me. I was the only single one there. So in as much as she knew Anthony, they called each other homie. So he came by, you know, and he was going to take all of us out to dinner one night. We went out. So my sister-in-law then got busy. She'd invite him for dinner. So one night she invited him for dinner. Well, in the dining room, there was a living room and a dining room. They had an old couch on the floor in the dining room. Well, in as much as he was her company, I would sit on the floor and let them study together. Well, he was there this time, and I heard this voice say, that would make you a good husband. I didn't tell nobody because we knew he had a girlfriend, because he had told us, you know, that some of his girlfriend was from Georgia. And so I didn't say a thing to nobody. So here again, later on, she invited him again. The same voice spoke to me.
Lovely.
So that night, I told her. She said, girl, that's the Lord. I said, what? She said, that's the Lord. I said, neither one of us are thinking about marriage. Neither one. She said, but that's what it is. And she got busy and played Cupid, and the rest is history. From that time on, but believe it or not, after Anthony and I, we talked, we explored in many avenues. We talked at length. And I guess I really met him in July. August, we had decided to get married.
Lovely.
So when I went home, my family said, get married. We were engaged. We got engaged on my birthday, which was September 9th. And then the 26th, we got married on September. They say, you don't know him? Yes, we do. And we were married, what? 53 glorious years.
Beautiful.
Yes, and that's how that happened.
In just a second, I want to back up a little bit. And,
okay.
Like we have a picture here. This
is
your
yes.
celebrating
that's our retirement. That's when both of us retired. I had always wanted to work 40 years in the school system. And so I really thought he had decided he was going to retire that May. He retired that May. He was a middle school principal at Westwood in Winter Haven. So we knew he was going to retire, and I said, well, I'm going to work this other year. But in the meantime, I called the county school board office and was talking in personnel. I said, well, I have one more year. She said, Mrs. Greene, you have 40 years. I said, I have? She said, yes. She said, Highlands County gave you 11 years experience. And I said, okay, so that's at one of our retirements. But both of us retired the same year, 1997.
Lovely, that is just lovely.
So the Lord was so good. We had a wonderful, wonderful years.
And then I know he had some time in the service. He served in the military.
Yes, he was in the military before we met.
Before you met?
Okay. He served in the Army.
I want to share something with everybody who is listening to this interview, something that you shared with us, and I'm going to ask you to tell me or tell us all about that.
Okay.
You and Mr. Greene had some guideline vows for your marriage, and these are: God would be the head of your marriage, truth and honesty and openness must always be a part of our lives, 3, you had open communication, and 4, you talked about once a week you had openness night where you all discussed your concerns and talked about them. Tell us about that. What a beautiful way to have a long enduring marriage.
And one of the most important items we decided on, we were going to have one family. You know, so often we get married and we think, you know, it's not important that I have a relationship with that family. But once you're married into the family. And we said that we would never talk to each other with each family, because you got to work to make that happen. Because families, as you know, will take sides with, this is my child, and this is, so we didn't. And we absolutely had one family. We got along that way. and we lived that way. We did that because we felt communications, if we were going to have a successful marriage, we had to communicate and let each other know. We didn't want to build up. Sometimes, we are upset about something. We won't discuss it. We'll hold. We let it mount. Then it gets out of proportion where you can't deal with it. And you have that. So this is why we said, let's write it off as it happens. It won't be so involved. You're not dealing with one or two items. And that's what we would do. If he did something or said something that I wasn't comfortable with, we would discuss it. The same thing. If I said something that he was uncomfortable with, or I did something, we sit and discuss it, the two of us.
That is so perfect. I wish everybody that is anticipating getting married in the near future could hear this, because that is a beautiful formula for something that's so important, keeping a family together. Thank you for sharing that with us.
You're more than welcome.
Now you celebrated, again, tell me how many years you were together?
53 years.
And at your 39th, was it your 39th?
Our 39th anniversary.
You took a special trip?
We took a special trip. And really, it just happened. With this picture, you'll see the couple on the end. They're from Maryland. And they had retired. She was a retired principal. He worked in civil service. So the civil service department, there were 65 people on this tour. They had planned it and planned way in advance. And they had paid their fares. So we were at Toastmasters one morning. And I said, our anniversary is September the 26th. And he said, well, what are you all going to do? I said, I don't know, but I really would love to do something special. This was Ted Woods. He said, well, why won't you all go with us? I said, where? He said, Italy. I said, Italy. I said, oh, we'd love to do that. He said, but wait, let me say, he said, our organization is going. He said, my retired organization, civil service people, he said, I'll have to call and see if it's too late. He said, or if they can make concessions. He said, but I'll see what I can do. So he did call. The next week he told us, he said, the only thing, you all will have to pay 1/2 of your trip fare by Saturday. He said, because you see, all of this has been taken care of. And we got busy and we found the money.
Sure enough.
And this is how we were able to travel with that group. We only knew he and his wife.
And then later, you shared this very special occasion with your family at a Christmas event. So tell us about that.
Every year, our gift to our family members was to invite them over for Christmas Eve. They look forward to coming to the Greenes. We did that about 30 years.
Oh, nice.
For Christmas and the 4th of July, we'd have a pool party brunch for them. But we would get together, and it was planned. We would get a coordinator of activities, because you're just not going to come and eat. You had a purpose for coming. We played games, sang hymns, because my brother-in-law was the minister of music at our church.
Oh, how fun.
He played, we sang all the carols, play games, eat, then we would give them their Christmas gift.
Fun.
I wouldn't let nobody bring anything. We did all of the food preparation ourselves, because this was our gift to them. Oh. And I enjoyed cooking. I love to cook, and so we started preparing. Anthony could cook also. His specialty was pies. He made pies and cobblers. Ooh. My specialty was cakes, breads, and things like that. And so we would start our preparation early. It was a joyous time. Mm-hmm.
Fun. I want to go back a little bit and talk just a little bit more about your career before retirement and education. Okay. I think it's one of the most important careers today is education. I just wonder, as an educator with a really robust background, would you have anything that you would want to share with people who might be considering education as a field, or people who may be in education today? What is something that would be a bit of wisdom that you could share?
I think the thing I would share is to be open-minded, and that you must love children. Mm-hmm. You've got to love them, because teaching to me is a ministry. It's a ministry. You've got to love it in order to do your very best. Now, I told you I started out in business. So my first job assignment in Highlands County, I was a business ed teacher. I taught 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. And as my students would say, I was very small and petite at that time. Some of the seniors would take pride in saying, now, wait, Mrs. Greene, you're only 4 years older than I am. Yes, that's true. However, you know, but this is my assignment. I am your teacher, you know. So I always said, you know, I don't know if I enjoy teaching young children. Older children was my I thought. And I worked with them. But at this point, I left senior high and went to a 3rd grade classroom.
Wow,
At the time, my youngest brother was a 2nd grade teacher. His wife taught 3rd grade. I was certified in elementary, but I had not taught elementary. So they would work with me in the afternoons, preparing me for the next day. When I got in 3rd grade with them, and you'll find that every child, regardless of his age, it could be a college-age child, all of them need the same thing, love. The senior high students love for you to, and they got that away from that, you can't call them and talk to them. But I would make hot chocolate for the senior high school students, hot chocolate for the one. All of these children need the same thing at every level. That was one thing I found. So this is why at every level I just stayed, so I remained in elementary because the elementary child needs what it's senior high, all of them need the same thing, basic thing. That's one thing. If a child really, they want to be disciplined, children want to be disciplined, but they want to know, number one, that you love them. If they find that you love them and really have that interest at heart, you have them.
Great wisdom. That is great wisdom to share. And I think that discipline is part of loving them.
It is. It really is.
Thank you. I appreciate your thoughts on that. Now, I want to talk a little bit about your, let's talk about your children. And you have a beautiful granddaughter. Tell us about them.
Okay,
Tony.
we have one son, Tony. Tony is a wonderful child. I thank God for him. He was in the, a cute thing I tell people, he went to school with his daddy but he wasn't at his daddy's school. His daddy at that time was in Lake Effort. And that school started at 3rd grade. They went 3 through 6 at the time, but they had this little school up the road. They went kindergarten through 2nd. So he would go to the kindergarten school. After school, hop down to his daddy's school. and he would come home. So the neatest thing we think about that, it was a long hallway, you know, with the old schools had those long hallways. That was the most tempting thing to Tony. He'd love to get in that hallway and run back and forth. His daddy told him, now, Tony, don't come down here running in this hallway. He thought his daddy was off campus one day. He was running into the hallway, and his daddy carried him in his office and explained to him better, don't run in that hallway. But that hallway was tempting to Tony.
Just a temptation.
So he went there. So when he got in 3rd grade, by that time I was the principal at Gibbon Street. And so he attended school with me.
Oh, great.
But I always felt I don't want no special privileges for Tony. The world is not going to make him special. And I don't want anybody else making him special because he has to learn what? To live in this world. We are not going to be here with him all the time. And we said we were going to rear him the way our parents reared us. We were pleased with the way we were reared. And so we reared him as much as we could the way we were. So for almost 2 or 3 weeks, the staff knew that was my child, but the students didn't know that.
Wow.
So after about 3 weeks he had been in school, and they was on the outside, I see him now. And I passed by one day, and he said, Mom, something. And they looked at him, they said, that's your mother?
Oh.
But I was so pleased because they had a chance, what? To learn Tony for Tony.
Right.
Not Tony's mother, the principal. So he was treated just like them.
Very wise.
I was so thankful we did that. Tony attended Morehouse College. And after he graduated, he enjoyed Atlanta. Most young people enjoy Atlanta. So he stayed there and he worked a while. And then he got a job with Mead's company. He worked for the Weather Channel in Atlanta for some years. Mm-hmm. And then he got another job. He was exploring jobs then. That was exciting. He got a job with Mead's Supply Company and he went to Dallas. We visited, he and his wife in Dallas. And so I think he's done well. And then this is his second wife.
We have a picture.
So
this
he was
is
divorced.
We're looking at Tony.
He was divorced for a number of years, and I was wondering if he's going to get married. He and Amelia courted about 5 years before they got married.
That's thoughtful.
Yeah, they courted about 5 years, and this is their wedding day. And we were looking at it. They got married in October, and I said, and we were talking the other day, looking through the pictures. When he got that picture, I said, you know, I did not identify your marriage with your daddy's death. Same month. They married the 19th, came to me with us getting these photos the other day.
Oh, so neat.
So it's just been a pleasure, and I told you, they selected living in Kissimmee because her mom lives in Point Santa. We lived in Winter Haven, so they're midpoint with us. And then we were blessed, and I was so happy that Anthony was able to see the granddaughter before he passed.
Oh,
he loved that little girl. He had Alzheimer's, but the most unusual thing about that, for the life of me, at times I could not remember her name. And I would say, Anthony, what's her name? And you know he could tell me.
He would remember.
Yeah, he'll say, Amara.
Amara.
And I never.
And this is Amara.
That's Amara with her little sweet self. That's Amara.
What a beautiful baby.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, so he brings her over. She enjoys eating, and she'll come over and have lunch. He'll bring her over. She sits right to the table and eats and enjoys it. She loves cookies. Oh, she just smiles.
So how old is Amara now?
Amara will be 2 years old on the 26th. She was born on our anniversary.
You have all these special dates.
Yes,
that's just great.
On our anniversary. So they're planning her second birthday party now.
And I'm just with you. I know one of our photos was a picture of Mr. Greene holding her when she was first born. I know that's just so special to you.
It was.
Yeah.
Oh, he loved that little baby.
Yeah.
That little girl. He'd look at her.
Well, it's just really great to get to
Yes.
know your family. And I have a couple more questions I'd like to ask you. And this has to do with your involvement in the community. I had the opportunity to read your interview. You had so many commitments that you made to the betterment of your community. A lot of involvement in church, a lot of involvement in organizations. One that I'd like to talk with you about is the National Coalition of 100 Black Women. You accomplished some very valuable goals in your involvement there. I know you served on the local level and on the national level, and we're going to talk about that. I want you to tell me about how you became involved, what you did, and about the national involvement.
We would have friends and family over for the 4th of July also. So she talked to us for years about this organization that she had heard about, the National Coalition of 100 Black Women. She had gone to her family reunion in Tennessee, where she first heard, and so her name was Alfreda Cunningham. And so one of your past recipients, Ann Darby, was as my sister-in-law. We were in the kitchen, and so we said that year, because I had retired, Ann was retiring, we said, okay, we're available. We can work with you, because she needed help. So that was the first year of retirement, and people would ask about it, but to develop this, it's a wonderful organization. It's an advocacy organization for women. And so Alfreda called a group of women in, this is the history, and went to Haven, did a poll to see how many people were interested in such an organization. She's a very dynamic person, hard worker. And we worked invariably to get hours after hours to get this organization started. One thing that impressed me about this organization was that they said, you know, before you become approved, we want your bylaws. What are you about? Because that's what we're going to hold you to. You know, we often say we're about this, that, and the other. So we worked, and they had someone from the national to come and check. It's a national group. Because you got chapters all over the United States with it. And so we were fortunate. After many hours, the group approved. We had a dynamic group of women who were interested in forming. And so that's how we came about. Alfreda was the founding president of this organization and did a wonderful job. I was the second president to come in office. But in the meantime, we had only been organized about 3 years. We had gone to they had their national retreat. They always selected interesting places and countries for you to go. So the first retreat we went to was in Jamaica. And what we would do, our husbands, we didn't ask our husbands to go with us because hotels at that time would give you extended time for your vacation, those same rates. So if the meeting was 3 days, you might say you're going to stay 5 or 6. And that's become your vacation. Now, Anthony attended every meeting.
Oh, wow.
That I attended, even as a national board member and as a regular member. And they used to call him Mr. Coalition because he was there when we had other guest husbands. They was put him in his charge. But when they have a national, this was the first time that I had ever participated in a national contest. And we really campaigned. The chapter, our local chapter, provided funds, made materials. We contacted all of the chapters over the United States. I made telephone calls. We communicated just like the national thing is going. This is how it went. So at that time, Tony was with his company, and the meeting was held in Philadelphia that year. And so Tony came to the meeting, and he and his daddy would. They'd campaign for me. They like soliciting votes. And I was so happy I won that seat. And so I was the first one from Polk County to win a seat at the national level. And so then I told them when I came back, I said, now we must maintain the seat. You know, we've been blessed with a person, the whole office at the national level ever since that time.
That is amazing.
That really is.
That is really good. Well, it was destined for Miss Lincoln High School in the 7th grade to become a president of the national organization.
No, I wasn't the president at the national level. I was on the board of directors. Okay. I was a president at the local level. Okay. I became president at the local.
Quite an accomplishment. And just, you know, it was predestined. For Miss Lincoln High School in 7th grade. That is really one of the things I'd be interested in knowing. The organization continues, it's active today.
It's very active.
And is there like one particular initiative that you're most proud of?
Well, there were 2 things that I really keep up with. We had Gourmet Gents. Gourmet Gents is still held every year. The first year that we held it, I really wanted it in the black community, because black men had always been portrayed as not caring, not as involved in the communities all. And Gourmet Gents consist of nothing but black men volunteers. And they have to, the way they come involved, they provide their special dish. These monies are used for scholarships for our girls. We have a mentoring program. The sisters in the coalition mentor a girl all year. And we look after them. So this is why we have that fundraiser for scholarships. We started out at the Northeast Complex. We'd have it in the afternoons. And we'd have, the first year we probably had about 45 men. You talk about something wonderful, a picture to see, is to walk in with 45 men in chef caps and white aprons with that, and they prepared their favorite dish. The interesting thing, you can eat from all of them. We only charge $25, $25. Now it has grown. When I left it, I used to coordinate it. I was the first coordinator to do this. And at one year, I had 70-some men because the chapter from Tampa, see, you had a Tampa Bay chapter. Some of their men would come and join us here. And in the meantime, we'd exchange some of our men to go over to Hillsborough County, Tampa Bay, when they had their gourmet gents. So I'm really proud of the work that happens with that group and with the mentoring program, as I said.
The mentoring, sure.
The mentoring program, where you're there to help with the development of young women, which is wonderful.
I love the program. It's the young black men who are providing the food, cooking,
Yes.
and the outcome are scholarships for these young black women.
Prior
So
to that, I had an opportunity here in Winter Haven. Here again, she was one of you all recipients. Ann Darby was the city commissioner, and she was very instrumental in organizing the Human Relations Committee for the city of Winter Haven. Now I understand that years prior to that, they had a Human Relations Committee, but I was the president of this one that she organized. And we were very active. We were there in the better interest of the citizens. We used to have listening posts with city commissioners, city officers, if they had, complaints about their electric bill, this and the other. We were there. We were funded by the city of Winter Haven. We were active many years. That was a delightful experience.
Yeah.
I've had some really good experiences.
You have. One I want to mention, just because I know it is a very esteemed award, is that you were the recipient of the Girls Inc. She Knows Where She's Going
Yes.
award in the Winter Haven area. I know Kay Fields does a wonderful
She
job with that
does.
program,
She does.
and to be selected for that says all the special things about you. So I know
Okay.
that's a very,
Thank
very
you.
special award.
Thank you.
There's,
I received the one in Winter Haven.
Winter
Kay
Haven.
is in Lakeland.
okay.
And the Winter Haven group selected me.
Yeah.
I was really thankful.
Yeah. Great
Yeah.
organization, really
is.
great organization.
It
Now,
is.
I have asked a lot of questions and taken you down a journey. I wonder if there is anything that you would like to share with us that we haven't talked about.
After such a wonderful marriage, and I said it was really wonderful, to adjust now, going through this period. So you find something exciting. You try to still make it alive. We always had I had a picture of us right by my bed. I look at it every night, every morning. But what I'm doing now that's really exciting, I'm developing a special area in our home in his memory around his computer desk. I'm working on that. So that makes it alive and you keep going. That's what I would like to share.
That is really lovely.
Yeah.
So you're cherishing the memories
Yes.
of a very wonderful and loving
That's right.
marriage.
And this is what we always said about our child. We never took pride in buying him the, what you call the name brands. Or you had to have this kind of sneaker. No, we didn't put our money. But for every experience we could give him, this is where our money went. Now he had traveled abroad because he was in the Spanish club at the high school. So he had gone to 7 countries way before we left the country. That they went on they had a 15-day trip. And then he'd gone to Washington all in high school. But I said, for every experience, we would find the money and pray for it or borrow it or get it from somewhere to give it to him, even though he did not have the latest clothes. He didn't wear those. He just wore the regular clothes because we always, and that's what you live on. When it all boils down to life, what do we have at this point? What do I have?
Those experiences.
Those experiences and memories.
Yeah,
And they'll carry on.
they do.
Uh-huh.
Miss Greene, I'm telling you what a beautiful life, well lived, so much wisdom you've shared with us. This has been such a special interview for me. So wonderful to get to know you. Thank you for sharing your story. It is a beautiful
Thank
story.
you so very much for having me. I appreciate it.
And thank you all for being with us today. Again, this is a production of Polk County Government Television, a collaboration between the Polk County Historical Association, Polk Pioneers program, and the Polk County History Center. We appreciate your being with us.